All right, so today we're diving deep into the resume of Mitch Allen. And right off the bat, one thing that really stands out to me is how well organized it is.
Yeah.
Clear, concise, easy to follow, which in the tech world I think speaks volumes.
Absolutely. You know, a well-structured resume often translates to a structured approach to work, which, let's face it, in software development is absolutely crucial.
It's true. It's kind of like when you look at clean code base, right? You can tell there's a method to the madness.
Exactly. And when we dive into Mitch's career trajectory, starting with his most recent role as senior software engineer at Takeoff Technologies, and before that at Shopify, there's a key theme that emerges: software testing and quality assurance.
Now that's interesting because it's one of those things that often gets overlooked, but it's absolutely vital, especially, and it seems like this is where Mitch's experience lies, in fields like e-commerce and healthcare.
You hit the nail on the head. And it's no coincidence he's drawn to those areas. Just imagine a bug crashes a shopping cart system during, say, Black Friday. Or even worse, a critical healthcare application goes down. Robust testing, that's the frontline defense against those kinds of disasters.
And it doesn't look like Mitch is just going through the motions of testing. He's actively seeking ways to automate and improve those processes. I mean, I'm seeing Python, PyTest, Cucumber, GitHub Actions. These aren't just buzzwords on a page. He clearly knows his stuff.
Exactly. Those tools tell me he's committed to modern development practices. For instance, his experience with PyTest, well, that suggests he can build automated testing frameworks, ensuring software reliability. And that's crucial in e-commerce, where even a tiny glitch can mean big revenue losses. And seeing GitHub Actions on his resume, that tells me he understands and uses CI/CD pipelines, which streamline development, leading to quicker, more efficient releases, a huge advantage for fast-paced companies like the ones he's been a part of.
So it's not just knowing how to test, but how to do it efficiently and at scale, right? That's got to be a valuable skill set to have.
Absolutely. And it gets even more interesting when you consider how those skills, combined with his experience in different industries, really point to his adaptability. But we'll delve into that a bit more after a quick break. So before the break, we were talking about Mitch's skills in software testing and automation, and how those played out in his work at companies like Shopify. But there's this other really interesting aspect of his experience that I'd love to dig into a bit, that period where he worked as an independent software developer. What are your thoughts on that part of his career?
Yeah, it's funny you should mention that. I was actually just thinking about that myself. I mean, to me, that really jumps out as a sign of his initiative. Someone who's not afraid to step outside the box, building VR experiences, mobile games. That's a whole different ballgame from working in a corporate environment.
Right. He had this entrepreneurial spirit. He saw an opportunity and just went for it. And that kind of self-starter attitude that's gold in any field, but especially in tech.
It speaks to a certain level of, I don't know, fearlessness almost,
Mm.
like a willingness to experiment, to take risks, to maybe even fail and learn from those mistakes.
Exactly. And let's not forget about the actual skills he honed during that time. When you're developing and launching your own projects, you're forced to wear all the hats, right? You're thinking about design, user experience, coding, testing, deployment, or even marketing. He was essentially running his own mini software company.
And I bet that experience turned him into a pretty incredible problem solver, don't you think? When you're the one responsible for every aspect of a project, you inevitably run into roadblocks.
Absolutely. You learn to think on your feet, troubleshoot on the fly. You have to be resourceful, creative, and those are invaluable skills in any role, really.
And it's interesting because when you look back at his more recent roles, say at Takeoff Technologies and Shopify, you see that problem-solving ability shining through. Like at Takeoff, you mentioned those recurring test killers he tackled.
Right, and those kinds of issues, those can really bring things to a grinding halt. But he was able to not only pinpoint the root cause, but he actually found a way to fix it. That's huge.
It is. And then at Shopify, his focus on optimizing system performance, well, that just shows a real understanding of how the technical side of things directly impacts the user experience, which in e-commerce is everything.
Exactly. I mean, think about it. Even a few milliseconds of lag can be the difference between a customer completing a purchase and abandoning their cart. His work there suggests that he's not just thinking about lines of code, he's thinking about the bigger picture, the customer journey, the business impact.
He's connecting the dots. And that's what makes him such a strong candidate, wouldn't you say? This combination of technical skills, adaptability, problem solving, and that business awareness.
Absolutely. He's thinking strategically. And you know what else caught my eye on his resume? His experience with technical writing.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. It might seem like a small detail, but I have a feeling you're about to tell me it's not.
You know me too well. Stay tuned because we're going to unpack the importance of communication skills in tech right after this. So we were just talking about Mitch's experience with technical writing, and you're right. It might seem like a small detail, but in the tech world, being able to communicate effectively, especially about complex technical stuff, that's a big deal.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I think often gets overlooked, but it's so important. I mean, imagine you're trying to explain a complicated piece of software or a technical process to, say, a non-technical colleague, someone who's not a developer. You can break it down in a way that anyone can understand. That's huge.
Yeah, it is. And think about it. Software development, it's a team sport. You've got developers, designers, project managers, even clients sometimes, who might not have that technical background. Being able to bridge that gap to translate the jargon into plain English, that's a skill set in itself.
It's almost like having a translator on staff, right? Someone who's fluent in both languages, the technical and the everyday. And, it also makes me think about leadership potential. Someone who can clearly explain these complex concepts, they're often the ones who naturally fall into those leadership roles.
100%. They can mentor other developers, guide the team, make sure everyone's on the same page. It all comes back to communication.
It really does. So when we look at Mitch's resume, what we see is someone who not only has the technical chops, but also that adaptability, that problem-solving mindset, and clearly the communication skills to back it all up.
He's got the whole package. It's a powerful combination.
It really is. Well, that's about all the time we have for today's deep dive. But before we go, we want to leave you with something to think about. Imagine you're about to interview Mitch. What questions would you ask him based on what we've discussed? How do his experiences, his skills, his unique career path, how do those align with the needs of your company, with the challenges you're facing? That's something to consider. And on that note, we'll see you next time for another deep dive.